Kunishige, the man you are. If you ain't treating your girl like how Kunishige will treat his girl, you ain't doing it right. But before we get into that, chapter 128, Smelting Part 3. We start off with Kunishige still looking to the fire, still not wavering, not one bit. And we have Subaru telling Kunishige saying, the fire isn't going out anytime soon. We then have Joji in the background saying, Urita sensei hasn't slept a wink just like Kunishige. Plus, on top of the fact that he's been using sorcery for 2 days straight, he has to be even more exhausted than Kunishige himself. We then see one of the Masumi members throw shurikens at Subaru, but Subaru just aura farming blocks the shurikens with his chanclas. What the hell? And we see attached to the shurikens are smoke bombs, and they start filling the room with smoke. And we hear the inner thoughts of Subaru saying that his doppelgangers aren't much use in fights, that he's the only decent one, so he tells Joji to take on the other Masumi member. And this right here is a crazy feat. He's saying he can't see a damn thing, but then goes on to blocking the attack from one of the Masumi members on the aeration filter. And I really want y'all to deep how like crazy this is, because this is in a smoke screen, on top of the fact that's from his blind side. This man's perception is crazy. And seeing that Subaru is a real threat, the Masumi member goes in on a final blow, but Subaru already has his blade up for the deflection right here. And deflect he does. This man has been aura farming this whole entire fight, saying, you're gonna need a better blade to do that move on me. Saying that he couldn't help but to break his sword because his form was just too perfect. And we get a little side note saying that katanas are weak from the side, so if you hit it from the side, it breaks it. But Subaru may have been aura farming just a tad bit too hard, as Kunishige has already been compromised by this like Masumi member right here. And this shocks everybody because this Masumi member is on a whole different level. Their sneaky level is at 200%, not 100%. And then we see this annoying little government guy saying, Kunishige Rohukiro. Those guys seem oddly invested in this. It turns out that he was previously involved with Princess Chiaki. And then he just starts to roast Kunishige, saying he's a loser, nobody, that to think that he goes against the government's plan. He just wants to be this big hero to save Chiaki. We turn the page to seeing Shiba crawling on the floor, getting reminded of how he got belt put to ass on Aryu, and how he's thinking that, damn, is this gonna be the same thing that happened last time in the Irishima talks? And then we see the Masumi members saying that Kunishige is the real spark that they have to put out, putting the blade to his throat. But Kunishige is only thinking about the fact that if Shiba hadn't come that day, Chiaki would have been dead. That he would have done that because his legs turned to jelly. And from that day on, he started to make katanas. He had to face the demons within himself. And then we get a whole entire page of Chiaki being the best person ever. That anytime that she will come to meet Kunishige, she will always cook him good homemade food. And that unfortunately Chiaki's prophetic visions were the reason that the enchanted blade Blanche was rejected. That she predicted that smelting something this level would be dangerous. That Princess Chiaki herself didn't want this. But Kunishige is thinking to himself that now and then, it's always her who has been protecting him. All he could ever do was continue forging katanas. Saying that, quote unquote, facing his demons. No, the truth was, it was all he could ever do. Making katanas was all he can ever do. That in the end, he could never take care of anybody he cared about. His dad's katana hurt Chiaki. His dad's blood drove his mother to the edge. His dad got himself hurt in the end. So strengthening his resolve with the blade on his neck, piercing blood as it goes down his neck, he looks even further into the fire, with the Masumi member saying, does this matter more than your life? And before we can even get an answer to that, we start to hear rain droplets. As Shiba comes in and teleports them back outside, saying, all of you, sheesh, won't you quit getting in our way? But he falls to the floor as he's still bleeding out, with the Masumi member saying, yo, it gotta be agonizing for him to breathe alone because of what happened at the Irishima talks. But Shiba says, so what? He saw a guy crush a ship into a ball with a hole in his stomach, doing the same pose as Mashiro. And back in the forest, we see that the two Masumi members know that time is of the essence, so they quickly go after Kunishige. But my boy Shiba, coming in to save the day once again, grabs both of the Masumi members and tells Kunishige that this time you take the glory alone. And Kunishige is still looking into the fire saying, on it. I'm gonna need to make a video on both of these characters, Kunishige and Shiba alone, because they are just too amazing to put them at the end of this video. But sheesh, have they moved me again. But let me know how y'all feel about this chapter. Amazing chapter once again. Kokozoma does it again.